How does that strike you? Now what we have here is not a failure to communicate, but rather there's a lot of information contained herein. Let me break it down for you, shall we? So, what we've done is dug down to the very bottom and bowels of Mother Earth. Millions of years, I would say. In fact, this is the Franciscan Land Formation. Now, what this shows here is a transition between two rock processes very close to one another. In fact, in the same soup when they were melted. This here is carbon rich, and it's hard for me to say which one is the newer, formation, but you get the picture. Pretty cool stuff. In fact, here's a rather interesting vein that popped up. There's several of those. That's the hardest rock there is around here. Now then, as we are delving into and digging up rocks, you want to collect certain specimens. And not just willy-nilly, but you want to place them accordingly to where you found them. So up on top, that's the top layer. Started removing rocks and, the typical scene. Found rounded rocks, nice and worn. Then you get down tens of thousands of years and you get to this point where we get like something like sandstone here. That's a nice little piece. And an even bigger rock. Don't want to collect them all, just the interesting ones. All right? Because you're going to try to read what you can gain from them. Here's a cool one. This one is super worn. And it's very beautiful. This is mostly smoky, or not smoky quartz, milky quartz, right? More of it. Then you also find stuff like this. These two pieces. So this has obviously got mica in it. Both of these have mica. You can see it shining and glistening. However, they're from different time periods. Because this one mostly has red in it, which is indicative of sard, I would say. What do you think? What do I know, though? I'm only a certified GIA certified gemologist. I have to ask a bona fide geologist for that. Now then, this was a cool piece because this is actually quite purple, which is more to my liking. When red turns to purple, it's a good sign. Here's an interesting piece. There's a few of these at different levels. It's particularly yellow. Now, it's got mud, ancient mud that's been baked in to the piece. Even washing it off doesn't necessarily remove it. It's pretty packed, to say the least. Now, as we go further into the history of this place, we come across these items. What we have here, like I said before, this is definitely sard, right? Or a precursor to sard, mixed with milky quartz again, which is pretty much how you like to find it. You don't necessarily want red mixed in with your quartz, but as long as it doesn't look rusty, which would indicate iron, of course, then you're good to go, right? You got something like that. This piece, now this I've seen many times before. This looks like quartz, and it is in fact quartz crystals. However, just like petrified wood, when it's been deprived of oxygen for millennia, petrifies. This, I suspect, is a piece of meat which has been buried so deep that oxygen has not been able to get to it, and every cell has been replaced with quartz. Because I suspect if you were to take a mold of this and cast it in a different material, you would find, like I'm seeing here, I don't know if you can, but the striations here are curved. In quartz, you would expect it to be following the lattice, just like in the milky quartz. However, milky quartz here is smooth. This is rough to the touch. So I think that needs some further looking into and research. I suspect people are finding these all over the place and don't realize this is actually petrified meat. Speaking of petrification, this is a piece of wood that was found at the very bottom of all of this. Can you believe that? This thing has been sitting there for hundreds of thousands of years, or tens, I don't know, but it's been deprived of oxygen. It's pretty cool. It's redwood, and it's extremely dense, as you can tell. It's in the process of transforming, or was in the process of transforming from organic material into inorganic. Now this is the prize. Check this out. Found quite a few of these, or not quite a few, but enough to pique my interest. This yellow is not the clay that I spoke of earlier up there. This is actually something quite different. It's very heavy. It's hard for me to say exactly what the combination of material is contained herein, but this is kind of what caused me to do all this. Now, unfortunately, we have to see something else. This now then came from the youngest part of our digging. These pieces. This shows the level of era which is called the Anthropomorphine, which I believe is a way to shirk responsibility for what we got here, because I think it should be called the Homocene, because we are the only freaking animals on this planet who leave trash and debris behind. It's awful. Homo sapiens kind of suck in a way, at least from nature's perspective. So there we have it. A bunch of stuff.